Every life is a story, and every story has its own beginnings. On living room rugs, tiny backyards, broad, painted fields. All across America, these are the stories that bond communities. The ones that evolve in towns on Fridays in the fall, through humble beginnings that plant the first seeds of ambition. Through tastes of the game that change them forever. And so their stories unfold on these fields. Their lives become tests of how far their gifts can take them as they emerge ever more impressively in college coliseums on Saturdays, while eyeing the brightest spotlight of all on Sundays.
He's going deep with the pass down the middle, and it is caught!
45-40, 35 slanting left 30.
Spit marks a man, spins off another at the 40.
Breaks another tackle to the 10, at the 10, at the 5. Touchdown!
Born leaders with powerful arms,
Got a man open, touchdown! What a play!
gifted playmakers with steady hands,
And by Justin Blackman.
talented teammates reaching for the next pinnacle together. Powerful linemen whose aspirations are only the start of their connection. When they draw closest, the tests intensify. But the desire of the very best is built to match every obstacle. Their talents shape to bloom fullest under the highest pressures. Now, at last, they arrive at the doorstep of their ultimate ambitions, with proof that their skill and their will are worthy of the grandest stage of all. A new beginning awaits, a new chapter in the stories they're writing for themselves at the 2012 National Football League Draft.
Welcome inside Radio City Music Hall to the 2012 NFL Draft presented by Verizon. We had a trade about 45 minutes ago. The Browns moving up one spot at the top of this draft. What does it cost them? A 4th, 5th, and 7th later in the draft.
Good evening. Welcome to prime time in the 2012 NFL Draft.
There is Andrew Luck now on a cell phone. We are showing this to you just because we know it already. Again, tonight, if we see a draft prospect on the phone.
With the first pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Andrew Luck, quarterback, Stanford.
And there he goes. He's got to hang up with his boss and hug his mom.
Has to be Andrew Luck. He cannot be Peyton Manning. He cannot try to replace Peyton Manning. He has to go and be the quarterback that he is, and hopefully Ryan Grigson and the Indianapolis Colts can build around this guy the infrastructure that Peyton Manning had around him.
And the interesting thing is he's not going to replace Peyton in exactly the same scheme and system, even though they're very similar in many ways. He's going to have his own system. Chuck Pagano is going to build around him.
And first and foremost, play action. Slides in the pocket, moves up, eyes downfield. He is so far ahead of most college quarterbacks in that critical area. He feels the pocket, he slides. Play action. Look where his eyes are. Holds the safety. He knows he's coming back to his tight end. Drops it in over the corner. Touchdown, Stanford. Now, how athletic is this kid? When I tell you it's similar to Cam Newton, look at him open the hips. Throw it back to the drag tight end to his left. Again, to his right. His numbers at the combine were very similar to Cam Newton's. This kid is an amazing athlete. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. Watch this, Michael. If you don't believe me, watch that. That's him catching the football.
You told me in the back, I can't wait to this moment till I get on stage.
Yeah.
But tell them what you're looking forward to the most.
I just, anxious to get started. You want to be part of the team. You want to get started and get going, and can't wait to be in a new locker room with a bunch of great guys.
Can you tell the Indy fans something personally?
Personally, just I can't wait. I can't wait to get out there and represent the city to the best of my ability.
But for the amount of first-round draft choice that the Redskins gave up for that young man, he's essentially 1A. I don't know if he's 2. He's got a lot on his shoulders there going to Washington.
Yeah, and let's be definitive about this. They will forever be grouped together.
Absolutely.
Not unlike Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, and we went 50-50. So I look at Robert Griffin and say, what are the odds of his success? And I think he's already surrounded in Washington, D.C. with more talent than Luck's going to have in Indianapolis. Mooch, what'd they do? They signed a couple wide receivers, Pierre Garçon, Josh Morgan. They re-signed Fred Davis, really exciting young tight end. Chris Cooley back from injury. So you start talking about building an infrastructure around a young quarterback, there's a pretty good one in place. Jim Haslett and that defense already plays pretty well. And most importantly, here's what I think about the kid. Washington, D.C., and the NFC East is not too big for this kid. He will embrace the limelight, and he's got special athletic ability, and he will make plays. And at the end of the day, this is what I want to underscore. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what they gave up for this kid, because if he turns into what Mike Shanahan thinks he turns into, it doesn't matter.
The Washington Redskins select Robert Griffin III, quarterback, Baylor.
And there is the newest quarterback in the NFC East. A major domino tumbling moment as RG3 making this way to the stage could be happening in Minnesota right now.
I think Rick Spielman's doing a masterful job of leveraging picks for a team that needs an awful lot of football players in Minnesota. So I would guess, and Rich, the important thing here for Minnesota is they have 2 players in mind that they want to get. So they won't go too far. They might only go down to number 5.
I talked to Mama and Grandma backstage, and they said, please tell us about the pinky promise.
The pinky promise, you know, you always tell them, you know, I promised my mom that I wouldn't get hurt. You know, nobody was going to catch me. I promised my grandmas that I would make it and put our name on a high level.
Who did you promise that you was going to rock those socks in a baby blue suit? Let us see it. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's swag.
With the 3rd pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Trent Richardson, running back, Alabama.
Mike?
We already talked about what I think he brings to the table in that division with that type of weather in November and December. What I also love about this kid is when you draft an Alabama player, you know what you're getting. Coach Saban coaches them hard. He coaches them well.
Colt McCoy needs him. This organization is thirsty for this kind of talent. This guy and Adrian Peterson, they bring so many of the same qualities to the game. You're talking yards after contact. You're talking physical inside, outside running, the ability to take the ball the distance. What I like about Trent Richardson is we saw him as a durable, viable running back at Alabama playing in a physical conference, and he's going to play in a physical conference now.
Later on, as the commissioner gives him a bear hug on the stage, and this guy is the beast, right, Michael?
He is a beast. He's a Florida boy, man. Spent a lot of time with him last night, man, and I'll tell you what, this guy is a 2009 Class 2A state weightlifting champion.
We should note that Tampa Bay is no longer on the clock, not because they've made their selection, but Jacksonville is now on it.
That tells you 2 picks, basically.
What do you got?
Well, it tells you that Jacksonville went from 7 to 5 to get the wide receiver Blackman, and the only way they can do that is if Minnesota didn't take Blackman. So it's Khalil or Claiborne right here.
Let's go to Michael Lombardi and Jason Lockenfora. What do you have, guys?
Well, Jason, we know that Jacksonville wanted Justin Blackman. I think this is now their opportunity. They're going to be able to trade with Tampa Bay to get Justin Blackman. Even Tampa Bay didn't wait for the 4th pick to see whether it's Matt Khalil or Claiborne, Morris Claiborne. Tampa Bay went ahead and made the deal.
Yeah, and the Vikings were only willing to go back to 5. We know that much. They weren't willing to go all the way back to 7 and do that Blackman-type trade themselves. So obviously, we've got this wide receiver coming off the board at 7, and
Jacksonville's on the clock.
We'll see. Yeah, but they're about to take him.
And we have to attribute this to the rookie salary cap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could remember being here a couple of years ago, and nobody wanted to get up in the top 5 because of the money you had to pay these guys.
More than twice as much as it is now.
But now we're having fun at the draft because general managers are getting to do their job.
First draft.
How great is that?
All right, let's go to the stage because, again, there's a logjam. 4 and 5 have already been selected. 6 is on the clock. Let's hear the Vikings pick at 4 and end that
With
suspense.
the 4th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Matt Kalil, tackle, USC.
So Matt Kalil, there he is, the brother of Ryan Kalil, the Pro Bowl center of the Carolina Panthers, hugging his family. And when we come back, talk more about Matt Kalil being the latest Minnesota Viking and find out who's the latest Jacksonville Jaguar. Back with more from New York in a moment. The Jacksonville Jaguars swapped spots with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers using a fourth-round selection to do so. We're about to have that pick revealed. While we were away, the Rams were on the clock, but we're showing you the Cowboys war room, hugging and kissing and shaking hands and on the phone for a reason. Trader Les Snead of St. Louis struck yet another deal, getting a second-round choice to go along with the first-round pick he got this year and all the first-round picks he got last year. And now the Cowboys are going to be selecting 6th overall. But here first is Jacksonville's 5th overall pick.
Tampa Bay has traded the 5th pick to Jacksonville. With the 5th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Justin Blackman, wide receiver, Oklahoma State.
It's a great pick. They have to give that young quarterback an opportunity. Watch him up top with the slant. This is a kid that attacks defenders. He attacks the football. He breaks tackles. It's not that he's nifty, but he's powerful. He's explosive. He attacks defenders. Again, it's a little slant route. Now, watch him with the ball in his hands. Spin move, maybe that's a little bit better than people thought at 6'1", 210. Versus press coverage. As good as anybody I've ever seen at elevating in college football, going over Leonard Johnson and finding the football. Big-bodied receiver, great block. Takes away that right knee in the open field, allows a big play. And then again, catch the football. Here's the problem. Turn that one into a touchback. Every once in a while, he's got a little bit.
Now, Coach, who reminds me of is this guy right here, Coach. When I do a comparison to Justin Blackman and why I call him a beast, he starts looking at like Akeem Nicks and Andre Johnson. This guy can go up and get the football. We talked about how Eli Manning is playing well with this fellow right here because he can go up and get the ball anywhere on the football field. This guy, Justin Blackman, along with Lawrence Robinson, who they signed from the Cowboys, will help Blaine Gabbert become one of the quarterbacks the Jacksonville Jaguars hoped he will become.
He has a guy in the locker room in Pocket Hercules that's going to shoulder the load. They're not going to ask him to carry the franchise. He can be an accessory right now, a very expensive accessory, a much-needed accessory.
Again, they gave up a second-round choice to the St. Louis Rams, who have now moved down from the 2 spot to the 6 spot down to the 14 spot. And for that, they got a first-round pick next year, a first-round pick the following year after that, a second-round pick this year, and now with this trade, a third second-round pick for the St. Louis Rams, who will pick 14th overall tonight. As for Dallas, this guy is somebody who they clearly wanted, because after this pick, if you're a Cowboy fan, smoke them if you got them. Their next pick will be 81st overall late tomorrow night. Mike, you think it's the cornerback?
Well, a couple things here. First of all, one of the main reasons I think the Dallas Cowboys haven't gotten to a Super Bowl in the last 7 or 8 years is the safety position. Absolutely. It's either Mark Barron or Maurice Claiborne, but it's a defensive back.
St. Louis has traded the 6th pick to Dallas. With the 6th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Maurice Claiborne, defensive back, LSU.
Here's the XO I talked about. Up top, watch his zone eyes, okay? Little high in his pedal, tracks the quarterback. Now he becomes the wide receiver. Goes up, over, makes the catch. Press man. Again, a little bit high, but he's so good he gets away with the technique. Now, receiver looks, I look. Now I'm going to go catch the football. That's special. Gets Alabama. Ball's in the air. Look at the acceleration to break the pass up. Gets the underneath hip, rips the ball away. And like Patrick Peterson, another LSU corner drafted in the first round 1 year ago. Look at his physical skill set in the return game. So this is a rare athlete. We've now seen demonstrative trades where teams have moved up to get the player they covet.
And the Lexus War Room shows the Dallas Cowboys enjoying the moment here in Radio City Music Hall in Maurice Claiborne. 4 trades atop the top 10 so far. And Marshall Faulk, you hit that nail right on the head. This is the first draft after the lockout and the new collective bargaining agreement after that insane salary structure or salary system, lack of a better phrase, got thrown out the window where there's some cost certainty with some of these rookies. It's pretty impressive what we've seen so far, but the pick is in for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I believe the commissioners coming to the podium.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Mark Barron, defensive back, Alabama.
Boy, he's had a solid pick. Correctly reads the tackle down, the guard pulls, he comes in behind the pulling guard, makes the tackle. Watch him time up the blitz. Hesitates, comes through the A-gap, the guard never sees him, a sack. He's comfortable both in the box and he's comfortable in coverage. Here he is, man. You better make sure you get your hand on there. He undercut the route, broke it up. How is he in space? Deep middle, turns his hips, reads the quarterback, poor throw, makes him pay for it. So a 220-pound safety that's very comfortable in the box, but has the movement skills to play man and the fluidity and the hips and the vision to play zone.
And to move this thing forward, Mike, think about that division.
Yes,
if
sir.
you're Tampa,
Yes, sir.
the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees, they're going to test your safety. They're going to stress out your secondary. Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to stress out your secondary. Cam Newton, whether it's you put him in the box or you play him back, they're going to stress out your secondary. This was a necessity. We watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, and their secondary looked bad.
Who will they choose? Is it Ryan Tannehill? Is it the latest quarterback in the carousel that's been spinning ever since Dan Marino has left the building? In the meantime, Carolina at 9th overall has already made its selection. The Buffalo Bills just got put on the clock. Is it Tannehill?
I think it's Tannehill at 8, and I think it's Fletcher Cox at 9. And the picks are coming fast and furious. And so far, I love all these trades because I think there's been a win-win situation with each one. I mean, St. Louis is picking up all these extra picks. What did Jacksonville give up to get Blackman? A 4th?
They're 101st overall, yes,
They
sir.
gave a 4th-round pick to get the best receiver in the draft that helped protect their young quarterback. Kudos to Jacksonville. All of a sudden, Dallas moves up. What do they get? The best corner in the draft. Boy, did they need him.
They did give up a 2. The next pick is not until late tomorrow night.
Remember what I said about the number 2 pick, RG3, and what they gave up? If he turns into who you think he is, it doesn't matter. Go get him.
The Miami Dolphins select Ryan Tannehill, quarterback, Texas A&M.
So it is the quarterback from Texas A&M with a minimal number of career starts at College Station.
I have him rated as the 19th best player in this draft, which tells you I don't think he's ready to be a heavy contributor this year. I watched every throw he made on tape this year. All the out-breaking routes are phenomenal. Where he gets in trouble are the in-breaking routes where he stares receivers down, pats the football, and throws it late. I have a thought while we're sitting here as far as moving this thing forward to the next pick. And I mentioned Fletcher Cox from Mississippi State, who I was really trying to figure out, is it him or Luke Kuechly the whole time? There's a need on their defense for that big defensive tackle, space eater,
in Carolina.
And there's a linebacker need in Carolina also for at those 2 places. I've been saying Cox, if they went Kuechly in Carolina, it would not surprise me at all. Keep in mind, Beeson off an injury. Thomas Davis has had 3 ACLs. They're hurting at linebacker. And keep in mind who some of the quarterbacks in that division are. He's the best pass-dropping zone linebacker I've ever seen.
The Carolina Panthers select Luke Kuechly, linebacker, Boston College.
There you go, Mike.
I love that kid.
There were 2 really logical players here. I call him Clark Kent, who happens to turn into Superman on Saturdays and Sundays. Remember what I said about Mark Barron? You can replicate all of it on this kid. He's one of the cleanest players in this draft. His instincts and his pass coverage ability might be the best pass coverage of any linebacker I've seen come out. There he is in Cincinnati, Ohio. Michael Floyd, Riley Reese, two logical names.
With the 10th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Stephon Gilmore, defensive back, South Carolina.
Oh, there you go. It's a South Carolina Gamecock coming out of the green room.
Offensively, they can compete. They need thoroughbreds like this kid who can step in day one and compete at the highest level.
Great pick. Second year in a row, Chan Gailey adds a defensive player for the first-round pick, the so-called offensive coach, Chan Gailey. They go defense with Darius last year, and now defense.
One thing we do know, now that we're in the teens, Jason, we know Kansas City likes to move. They've taken a long time on the clock. There could be a trade coming. We also know that the Arizona Cardinals are desperately trying to go back. Everybody thinks they're going to stay still, but that's the target team, whether it be the Jets or another team moving into 13 to get Chandler Jones. He's the hot commodity at this point.
Yeah, the Jets among the teams looking to move up. Arizona, if they do stay put, and Floyd's there, the wide receiver, he's someone who I'm told they're very comfortable taking, but they have been trying to move back. Fletcher Cox is still out there. Maybe somebody makes a move. I'm not sure he would get by KC and 11 and 12, but people in Seattle told me they're willing to trade down as well for the right opportunity. So we're not done with these trades yet, Rich. We're going to set some records here tonight.
Hold on, Rich. It's going to start happening even faster now.
Fantastic. Let's take a look at the best available players presented by GMC. There is Chandler Jones, followed by Fletcher Cox. What do you think about Kansas City's needs as we're getting set to hear that pick?
Man, when you think about Kansas City, obviously losing your quarterback, I mean, that really sets you back. And then you lose your running back. How far does that set you back? But I believe defensively, Kansas City needs to apply pressure on the quarterback. I like what I hate when you change coaches and then all of a sudden the team rises up and start to play better, but that's what happened in Kansas City. I think they have defensive needs more than anything. Offensively, if they get the guys back healthy that they had from last year, they can move the football.
You know, you look at their roster, and the thing that glaringly stares out at you is the lack of a nose tackle. Kelly Gregg, can he play anymore? They're a base 3-4 defense. You've got to look at Dontari Poe, even though you'd rather get him later in this draft. So I think he's under consideration. Keep in mind, the wide receiver, Dwayne Bowe, has been franchised. He probably won't show up for a while unless he signs that tender. Michael Floyd should be in play, and Fletcher Cox continues to fall, and he might, I say fall, we're only at number 11. He's going to be one of the best defensive players that come out of this draft. So Scott Pioli is risk adverse.
The Kansas City Chiefs select Dontari Poe, nose tackle, Memphis.
How about that?
Wow. So the man who benched the house at Lucas Oil and then lit it up with the rest of the on-field drills, he is now the latest member of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, Rich, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles, who they've liked Fletcher Cox all along, never thought he could slip this far down, are prepared to make a trade to go get the guy that they've wanted, Fletcher Cox. Seattle's on the clock, and they're two right side by side, so they'll be able to make this fairly quickly, Jason.
At one point, the Eagles talking even teams like Cleveland, thinking they may have to jump the Rams to get in the top 5 for Fletcher Cox. Jim Washburn, the defensive line coach, covets him. They're able to get him. You have to think Seattle at 12. Chandler Jones is a player they like a lot. They weren't sure would be there. If they don't trade down, maybe they take Chandler Jones right at 12.
In the middle of your conversation, guys, Philadelphia did just strike the trade. So the Eagles fans are now eager to hear.
And the names that you would come up for, and one of the first ones we talked about was Fletcher Cox. The Eagles coveted him and Mark Barron. When Cox started to slide a tiny bit, they pounced. Seattle moves down. It would either be Chandler Jones or Quentin Coples, I think, for Seattle on the move down.
That bench press 44 times, that made him some money. So he's got some rare physical qualifications, and that made him some money right here with Kansas City. Romeo Cornell's a happy man.
Big fella right there, too.
Think Haloti Ngata. That's the kind of skill set he brings to the table.
The Eagles are now on the clock. They have selected, they're about to make a selection.
Most rookie defensive tackles get taken off the field in third down. This kid's best down is going to be third down. Think about what they're going to do with their sub package. They're a 3-man front base. They're going to go 4-man on their sub package. They'll take Houston and Tamba Ali outside. Allen Bailey, who really had a good year inside, along with Poe. You got 4 son of a guns that can get after a quarterback. And I think Poe's best down at 350 is going to be just sticking that big butt in the air and just pushing the pocket.
With the 12th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle, Mississippi State.
This is another rare cat right here. You want to talk about a 300-pounder, Mooch. He ran 4.76 at 300 pounds at the combine.
Amazing.
And here's the deal with him. He'll be a 21-year-old rookie. You can play him inside, you can play him outside. Remember Jim Washburn, the defensive line coach of the Eagles, with that wide 9? Here's what the wide 9 means. Jason Babin lines up in Avalon, New Jersey. Okay?
Nice.
On the other side, they line up in Los Angeles, California, and somebody in the middle's got to handle all that space. And that's what this cat's going to do for them.
He loves drafting those linemen. This big guy here that can run. You mentioned those wide 9s. What do you need? Is a big fella that can post up, but still get a chance to move around and chase people down, and that's what big fella does.
And you know what they do on first down? They take Jason Babin out and put him in at defensive end, and then on the sub package, he comes inside.
Well,
he provides versatility.
He just devoured the commissioner with that hug.
That's a big dude,
It looks like he's going to put the wide in the wide 9.
Could have come back for a 4th year. Had an evaluation by the NFL of a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Felt more strongly about his own ability to play. Ends up, in my opinion, in Philadelphia, an important cog for that defense. Now, what else does Philadelphia need to compete? They need a safety. Okay, and they've drafted 2 safeties in the last 2 years in the 2nd round, Jaquan Jarrett and Nate Allen. So he's an important piece for Juan Castillo defensively. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be a team to contend with. They dumped a bunch of salary with Asante Samuel. This kid's special.
Cardinals pick in. What's the next name on the draft track, do you think, Mike?
I'm not doing too good on this mock, but I think I'm going to go back to it. I think it has to be Riley Reese, the tackle from Iowa. This is a tough physical division with Jim Harbaugh and the 49ers. He provides some punch. Michael Floyd's my dark horse here.
The Arizona Cardinals select Michael Floyd, wide receiver, Notre Dame.
Well, the dark horse just showed across the finish line. And he is a new target for, well, we'll discuss that later on. But the Arizona Cardinals have themselves somebody across from Larry Fitzgerald. And Fitz must be ecstatic about that. Well, let's say Floyd's got to be ecstatic, too, to be going to play professional football, Mike.
What
Larry Fitzgerald.
I love this marriage. Now, this is a 6'3", 220-pound wide receiver. Watch him stack the corner. When you get on top of the corner, you give your quarterback room to make that fade throw. Again, against press coverage. 220 pounds, gets on top of the corner, catches it in front of the safety. He's a natural hands snatcher. Bubble screen. A little more explosive than you think. Catches it now, doesn't see it. Watch how quick he is. Again, 220 pounds, gets to the other side of the field. Now finish it, Michael. Nice job. Press man, maybe the best blocking wide receiver I saw on tape all year. He's nasty, he's tough, he likes to win. Here's my only, most big wide receivers struggle coming out of breaks, and you could see a little sloppy there. Didn't come back to the quarterback. He's a little tight in his hips, but he's a natural hand snatcher, and I'll tell you something right now. He's had some off the field issues, right guys? Well publicized. There is not a better role model for him in all of pro football at the wide receiver position than Larry Fitzgerald.
Tape out, you're going to swear that I knew something, because this is who this guy reminds me of, Anquan Boldin. And this is exactly what Arizona talked about. We talked to Kurt Warner. You talk to people in Arizona. They missed and underestimated what Anquan Boldin meant to this team. Michael Floyd will give them some of that back again. Michael Floyd is a good pick for the Arizona Cardinals.
Now Now the question is who's going to be the quarterback here? I assume they're going to go back. They are going to go back to Cobb,
regardless of who the quarterback is. It doesn't matter. Here's what you have now. When teams decide to take Larry Fitzgerald away, you have a guy in Michael Floyd that you do not have to throw a perfect ball to.
That's right.
Even if he's covered one-on-one at 6'3", 220 pounds, the ability to high point the ball against most defensive backs in this league who might be 5 foot, let's say 6 foot or smaller. I mean, he becomes a viable target.
Jones, Copels, Upshaw, Melvin Ingram, Merciless.
But you look
they're all sitting out there right now.
Yeah, but you look at the Rams, defensive end's not in need. Chris Long's on one side. Robert Quinn was a first-round pick a year ago. I'm thinking corner, wide receiver, or tackle. They have a ton of needs here.
Let's get the
outside linebacker is one as well.
Yeah.
With the 14th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Michael Brockers, defensive tackle, LSU.
Now, Les Snead comes from Atlanta. They're a best athlete available with a focus on need. Now, think about the defensive tackles in St. Louis. They've been beat up inside at that position. They signed Trevor Laws. They signed Kendall Langford. Fred Robbins is 35 years old. So I just mentioned their defensive ends are solid. They need some help inside. Michael Brockers at 320 pounds.
49ers are going to play smash mouth. Let's build this team to win the division. Seattle and Pete Carroll like to play smash mouth. Michael Brockers has an inside presence. He's a young guy, only 1 year as a starter, but he's pretty active in there. When he wants to cut it loose, this is a big man. Reminds me of Marcus Stroud, and he can push the pocket and get in the vision of the quarterback.
Well, Seattle was traded down earlier with the Eagles, going up to get Fletcher Cox, just made a selection. That's a team that needs a pass rusher.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, every single pass rusher on the draft board is still available, which the Jets just got put on the clock. That's got to make them happy as well. Both of these teams essentially going to have, well, Seattle's going to have a pick of the litter, and then maybe the Jets right after that. But this is the Seattle war room.
Yeah, they have a massive defensive end need. And the way Pete Carroll plays his defense, it's kind of an amoeba between a 3-4 and a 4-3, and they have this elephant position that they term it. And I think either Chandler Jones from Syracuse or Quentin Copels from North Carolina would both fit that, and you can line them up across from Chris Clemens.
That's Paul Allen at the top left of your screen right there, the owner of the Seattle Seahawks, along with Pete Carroll, John Schneider, and the rest of the crew. Yeah, hey, Coach.
I like this drama. I like not knowing. I don't want to see that. This is fun.
Both.
This is fun.
With the 15th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Bruce Irvin, defensive end, West Virginia.
You talked about it, Mike.
There is the first, and Michael Irvin's hit me because I talked about this kid yesterday.
Yes.
This might be the most natural pass rusher in the entire draft. He's only 245 pounds. He's got an explosive get-off, and he's an explosive player, but there are red flags off the field. The kid's had a lot of trouble. Several teams have taken him off their board. At 245 pounds, he can't play at first down for you. He's not a run defender. He's not stout at the point of attack, but he's the most explosive edge rusher in this draft. And Pete Carroll has never been afraid of taking on a problem
You
child.
had him at the second round grade. As you can hear, the Jet fans are cheering right here. As they're walking around town the last few days, they're like, can we get Jones? Can we get Upshaw? Maybe Melvin Ingram? Forget about it, I told him. Guess what? They're all available with the Jets currently on the clock. The Seattle Seahawks went ahead and took Bruce Irvin as the first pass rusher, which leaves a lot of questions, and then also a lot of pass rushers for the Jets to perhaps select right now.
I talked to 3 general managers last night, and each one of them said, who do you think is the best pure pass rusher in the draft? And I said Bruce Irvin to each one of them, but you probably can't take him in the first round because of the risk involved. Well, Pete Carroll didn't care about the risk involved, and he just got a guy. And here's the deal with Irvin. He's a situational pass rusher only, which means rundowns he won't be in the game. But because it's a pass first leg rich, he'll get more snaps now than he would have 5 years ago. Now, moving ahead to the Jets, It's got to be a pass rusher, I think. An edge rusher, you look at your list, Quentin Coples and Melvin Ingram are both on the board. They'd be very, very logical guys here.
What about Jones, who you said 3 years from now is going to be the best defensive player in the draft?
That's my guy. I think he is. I think he's going to be really good this year and dominant in 3 years. He's got some growing up to do, some physical maturing to do.
What about Courtney Upshaw or Whitney Merciless? Some of those guys, besides Chandler Jones, they can put pressure on the quarterback. They've got good people in coverage, but let's hit the quarterback, and I think that's a priority.
One thing you watch Rex Ryan do, remember a couple years ago when he said, I'm not blitzing, I'm going to stay back. I did it against Peyton Manning, I did it against Tom Brady, and we won the football game. But we need somebody to get pressure when I decide to make that move, and I think that's where they go in this direction, because you need to give a guy like Darrelle Revis some pressure without blitzing sometimes.
They need to rebuild the right side of that offensive line.
Yes. Yes.
And I'd also like to see a wide receiver, because you're talking about Santonio Holmes, Curley, Patrick Turner. Where's the guy that takes pressure off for Mark Sanchez?
The New York Jets select Quentin Coples, defensive end, North Carolina.
So out of all the choices at the Jets' disposal, Rex Ryan, and Mike Tannenbaum, and Mike Pettin tap on the shoulder of North Carolina's Quentin Coples. Mike, your thoughts?
As a junior, he was a dominant defensive tackle. Was great on tape as a junior. As a senior, he kicked outside the defensive end, and in my opinion, very indifferent tape. I did not like his senior year tape. I've been highly critical of him. However, he showed up at the Senior Bowl and showed that he has Julius Peppers-like ability. He can play the base in a 4-3 defense. He can play the 5 technique, which is a defensive end, in a 3-4. And I think what Rex and Mike Pettin are going to love about this guy is you can move him inside and outside. Mooch, you can line him up anywhere in the front.
You can, and he's been all the way through it, and he had more success inside. So maybe in the sub packages, you put this guy in a 3 technique and let him scoot, because I like those tall guys like a Michael Brockers, who was drafted earlier, you know, to get in the vision of a quarterback, make it unsettling, and collapse the pocket. A big guy like that can do it.
And he has an incredible first step, coach. When you got big guys, long stride, and a first step like that, he can be dangerous.
I think we're going to see another corner go here to Cincinnati, Drake Kirkpatrick. They liked him very high on him, and we're starting to get a little shallow at that position at the top end. Also, only one offensive lineman off the board. We're going to see a run of those coming into the late teens and 20s. You were all over this Bruce Irvin in the first round thing. You thought he was going in that division one way or the other, didn't you?
Yeah, I was told earlier today that a team in the NFC West told him he was going to pick him, but it was a team picking in the 30s. That was San Francisco. They went in and worked him out. The kid honestly thought he was going to San Francisco. Seattle obviously picked him instead. I mean, the pass rushing ability, when people say he's only a pass rusher, well, you know what? The National Football League's a passing league.
That can win you a football game.
He'll play a lot.
This is the Oakland Raiders pick that was traded to Cincinnati in the Carson Palmer trade. And of course, as we're here at the first Al Davis-less draft in decades, we should of course always mention Mr. Davis and his passing, that this draft, that there's a draft actually that he has no part of. It's sort of odd to think. But either way, the Raiders weren't drafted in the first round after that, trade, or the second. Yeah. So
or the third until they got a compensatory.
That's right. Smoke them if you got them.
17 and 21. They have 2 of the next several picks. I think they need to get the final, what I consider to be first-round corner in this draft, Drake Kirkpatrick. I'd take him now. I'd come back at 21 and either take a wide receiver or David Castro, one or the other.
With the 17th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Dre Kirkpatrick, defensive back, Alabama.
So that's the 3rd member of the Crimson Tide National Championship team to go in the first 17 picks.
They desperately need this young player. Keep in mind that Cincinnati in the offseason has signed several defensive backs. They signed Jason Allen, who can play corner and safety, Terrence Newman. They re-signed Pac-Man Jones. They understand that this is an area of concern, but instead of all those old veterans with very little mileage left, they went out and got the last true first-round corner in this draft. He's 6 feet, he's long, he's tough.
Physical toughness, willing to tackle. You don't play at Alabama if you can't tackle. definitely read and react, play zone and man. And great pick for them.
And right up to the Marshall. Look, I said, stop measuring me up, man. He said, that's what I do to all receivers.
And the last 2 men he's hugged in his life, Nick Saban, his college coach, and the commissioner of the National Football League, who just handed him a new jersey.
Yeah, right there. Good man.
The Chargers are on the clock. Well, they got their choice of anybody to rush the quarterback. They pretty much have their choice at linebacker too, Mike. And then you take a look at a position that normally has a run on it. Tackle.
Yeah.
Inside. By the way, inside, if you wanted inside offensive linemen, the world is your oyster. Everybody's available on the draft board right now.
Well, think about it. Last year, San Diego was effectively an injury ward with their offensive line. Phillip Rivers took a beating. They need to get younger and more athletic. At this point, if you look at the interior or tackle board, you pretty much have you could take Riley Reef, the second-rated offensive tackle. You could take Cordy Glenn, who can play tackle or guard, which, by the way, makes a ton of sense because they need a swing guy. However, defensively, number 32 on third down, number 29 in the red zone, number 22 points per game. Marshall, I think they need an edge rusher, and they have their choice of edge rushers right now with Merciless, Upshaw, McClellan. There's a bunch of those guys. You think they need an inside linebacker? Would that be Hightower?
It would be Hightower to me. When you think about what they do,
yeah.
I mean, they want to rush the passer and Sean Phillips, who's been injured. Inside stopping the run is important in that division.
With the 18th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Melvin Ingram, linebacker, South Carolina.
Not a surprise. I mean, to me, that makes perfect sense. John Pagano, the new defensive coordinator. Guys, I was at the Pro Day, and we have a tape of his Pro Day workout, which had everybody in the crowd, coaches and general managers, could not believe this kid's Pro Day workout. Now, his size is an issue. He's about 6'1", 264 pounds with short arms. But take a look. This is the defensive end, Mooch. Watch this kid work out as a linebacker. It's awesome. Remember, he's played defensive tackle, defensive end. Look at him bend, move, catch the football. He could be an all-pro tight end, I think. Look at him. Are you kidding me? This kid can play standing up. He can play down. The big question has been, where do you play him on first down? But in San Diego, you're a 3-4 team. He's going to be an outside linebacker. And in sub packages, John Pagano is going to move him everywhere on the field. Guys, he's a playmaker.
That's why I like him. All he lacks is a little height. He's 6'1.5", but he has everything else. Talk about a conversion guy. He can put his hand on the ground and be very disruptive. He's strong enough at the point of attack. And those linebacker drills, very impressive. He looked like a natural, like he's been doing that all of his life. So he's a versatile guy on defense. You can move him around and really be good.
We have pick number 19 coming up, and it's the Chicago Bears from Roger Goodell.
Defensive end, right?
Let's hear it.
With the 19th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Shea McClellan, defensive end, Boise State.
Now, I felt like this kid his value started at 18 with San Diego and would go to about 31. The two fastest risers I've had in the last month, Chandler Jones and Shea McClellan. I didn't think a 4-3 team would take him. He's got so much versatility, but I love the football player.
National Football League member from the blue turf, Shea McClellan, the third first-rounder from Boise State.
Kellen Moore, who's maybe a fifth-round pick, he was 6-0 against BCS conferences. This team, Boise, is underrated, and now the talent level is starting to rise along with the coaching staff that's always been great at Boise. When you put their tape on, they're well coached, they're technique proficient, they're ready to play in the NFL. And this kid, McClellan, I thought he'd go to a 3-4 team. He reminds me so much of Mike Vrabel with his ability to drop, move, blitz, do everything. But he can put his hand in the dirt, and across from Julius Peppers, he will get a lot of opportunities for one-on-one blocks.
And we will see him on the debut of Thursday Night Football in Soldier Field. I mean, in Lambeau Field. Bears at Packers. Shea McClellan. Tennessee has just traded the pick. It's the New England Patriots now sitting on the clock. the New England Patriots have traded their pick, the 27th overall, and a third-round choice. They have, pardon me, I'm sorry, I've been given some bad information. It was Cincinnati that traded the pick. The Titans just made the pick. So the Titans didn't trade, but the Cincinnati Bengals are the ones who have traded out of the spot. The Patriots have now moved up to 21, and for that, jump up 6 spots to get Mike Mayock.
Well, first of all, we have to decide what we think Tennessee did. Okay, they put the card in, and I think it's a defensive end. Either Chandler Jones, Courtney Upshaw. Wild card would be Stephen Hill, the wide receiver. Why did New England move up? I think they saw a bunch of defensive players on their board where, for instance, Chandler Jones, the number 9 player on my board, is available. As soon as they knew what Tennessee's pick was, they moved up to Cincinnati. So I think it's either Chandler Jones or Dante Hightower. They're the 2 defensive players at this point that are difference makers.
With the 20th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Kendall Wright, wide receiver, Baylor.
Who had that pick in the mock draft? Who had Kendall Wright going to Tennessee in the mock draft? Would that be Michael Irvin?
I love that guy. You better believe I threw him out there, huh? Yes, I did.
Good job. I had Stephen Hill going there in my mock. And you and I are in the minority as far as people that think he's a high-level outside X receiver. I think he's special with the ball in his hands.
Coach, he's absolutely special. Speed is what everybody talks about, is speed. Speed is a derivative of stride length times stride frequency. His stride length isn't that big, but his stride frequency is incredible.
But when you watch a guy separate from other guys on the football field,
I didn't care what he ran, Marshall. 4.6.
You watch him play faster than he ran.
I thought he was going to run 4.35 or 4.4 after I saw the tape because he's so fast. And I'll tell you another thing. When he gets the ball in his hands,
look out.
He's special. But some of the catches this kid made were great.
Well, 108 receptions in a college season, over 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns. And everybody knew RG was throwing the ball to this guy, but he was hard to cover, hard to tackle. Throw him a bubble screen, a reverse, you name it. Find a way to get the ball in his hands, and he scores points.
Make plays in the big games. You know, when I put my comparison tape on, I said this guy right now, to give you someone he reminds me of in this league, is Santonio Holmes. When the game's on the line, you can look for this guy just like RG3 did to make a play. This guy goes inside and he goes outside. With the stride frequency, what does that give you? Inside, outside cuts. He's in and out of cuts real fast, kind of like Wes Welker.
What any quarterback would love is a receiver who has the ability to run underneath a football and watch those vertical throws.
And who do you think that's going to be as we're getting ready to hear that?
I mean, knowing Bill a little bit and how he covets playmakers, especially on the defensive side of the ball here, on a defense that was number 31 in the NFL a year ago, to me, it's got to be Chandler Jones. I think that's the guy that puts his hand in the dirt, rushes the quarterback. He's going to be 280 pounds in 2 years and one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL.
The New England Patriots select Chandler Jones, defensive end, Syracuse.
Well, he's number 9 on my board, and I like him better than most people do. He's 266 pounds, and again, he will be 280 pounds in 2 years. New England plays a multiple front. I love this kid's scheme diversity. Durability has been a concern at Syracuse. He only played 7 games. Here he is coming off the edge against UConn. He eats up a lot of ground. He's got 36-inch arms. So even though his burst doesn't look as quick as a Freeney, he eats up almost as much turf with those long strides. Little speed to power move outside in. Forces the ball thrown up in the air. Phillip James with the interception. Off the edge again. Run game. Recognizes it, chases it down, makes the play from the inside out. Can this kid drop? Bill Belichick loves diversity. Look at that. Big fella at 6'5½", dropped, opened his hips, made the tackle in the open field. Again, he's a difference maker for me.
There is a direct correlation, however, to Dwight Freeney that you can make. He's the first Syracuse first-round choice since Dwight Freeney.
With the 22nd pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Brandon Weeden, quarterback, Oklahoma State.
And there you have it.
They got their tailback at pick number 3. They came back and picked up quarterback, 28 years old, Brandon Weeden from Oklahoma State. He can make all the throws. People are concerned about his age at 28 years old. Let me show you this kid and what he does. Now, he's got Blackman outside, quick step, 3-step drop. The kid doesn't have a lot of drops and reads. It's a very simple offense. I like this throw right here. There's the drill on the 18-yard dig.
The Cleveland Browns trading one spot up earlier today to select Trent Richardson, and then with the pick that they got to allow Atlanta to trade up in their spot last year for a first-round pick, they chose Brandon Weeden, and in that Atlanta trade as well, they got a 4th-round choice that they used to move up to take Richardson. As we've got Roger Goodell coming back out, we've got a Lions pick to announce, a Steelers pick to announce. The Broncos just traded their pick to New England, which just traded up again at the end of this first round. And Detroit is on the clock again. There's all sorts of trades to report, all sorts of mystery going on. But Brandon Weeden, how soon do you think he goes? Is that it for Colt McCoy in Cleveland in your estimation, starting 2012?
As far as I'm concerned, they just drafted a quarterback in the first round. He's 28 years old, and the only reason you draft that quarterback is you expect him to compete this year. And if he comes out of camp as the better quarterback, he will start week 1.
Calvin Johnson is the new cover model of the Madden EA Sports 2012 as voted by the fans, and he's here with a Lions pick.
We have a special guest to announce the Detroit Lions selection. Please welcome Lions wide receiver and Madden NFL 13 cover athlete, Calvin Johnson.
Very honored to be voted by you, the fan, 20 million deep, to the cover of Madden 13. And with that, the 23rd pick of the 2012 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Riley Reese.
Hey, that's a good pick.
Good pick.
Tell you right now, Jeff Backus is 35 years old, coming off elbow surgery. They need help on the offensive line. Let's face it, their quarterback, and he can play left or right tackle. I think he should start on the right side, but let's remember their quarterback, Matthew Stafford, has had some injury histories. You've got to protect the franchise. You know what's interesting is I believe this Detroit offense is similar to New Orleans. I think they're explosive. They got a big-time quarterback. They got 2 big-time tight ends. When they're healthy at tailback, they're unbelievable. Calvin Johnson on the outside. They just need to get better up front and protect their quarterback.
Protect the franchise over there. Matthew Stafford, yes. Jeff Backus probably has another year left in him, but Gutser Sherrillis from Boston College has only 1 year left in his contract.
That's right.
So they've got to protect themselves on either edge. And of course, the franchise quarterback needs to stay upright.
Pittsburgh Steelers selection at 24.
O-lineman Cordy Glenn, I'm guessing.
With the 24th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select David DeCastro, guard, Stanford.
DeCastro lasts all the way to the 24th pick. He's a natural Pittsburgh Steeler, right, Mooch? He's your guy, man.
Yeah, Sean Kugler is just doing cartwheels right now.
Yep. He's a plug-and-play guard. The Steelers have had all kinds of problems up front. He might struggle with size a little bit, but I thought he was the best pull and locate guard I've seen in years. Pull, locate, use correct leverage, kicks out, no problem. Stanford's offense is heavy on guard movement. Again, second level, skip pull, gets up in the hole, uses that big butt, flips his hips, bang. Good job. You don't see offensive linemen this nimble-footed at the point of attack. Quick hands, quick feet, no problem in the pass game there. My only issue with him on tape is when a big body gets on him. He's got to get a little stronger with his core strength.
And 2 picks tomorrow night, 2 second-rounders, and that will be it for the New England Patriots. They have no other choices after tomorrow night's second round. So obviously, it's interesting. Many times in past years, Belichick clearly has not liked what he's seen at the bottom of the first round and gotten out. He likes what he sees to get back in, even higher.
When he likes a player, he targets him. Here's what I'm thinking. It's either going to be Hightower or a surprise pick here. How about Doug Martin from Boise?
Let's hear it. The commissioner with the second and final Patriots pick, we assume, of the first round tonight.
The New England Patriots select Dante Hightower, linebacker, Alabama.
Wow. So that's the fourth member of the Crimson Tide to come out of the green room, hug Nick Saban, and then hug the commissioner of the NFL. The Patriots have gone back-to-back defense. The fourth member of the Crimson Tide in the national championship, and then be a first-round choice.
What Nick Saban has done. I mean, man, the guys that they're putting out. This kid is going to be great in the
From Saban to Belichick. That's great coaching. From Saban to Belichick, that's good coaching.
When we come back, the Texans pick. Houston Texans, with the latest draft pick in their history, have made their selection. Who do you think they're going here? I think you put Stephen Hill on this team in our mock draft.
No, I almost went Stephen Hill, and that could be a pick here. I went Kobe Fleener, the tight end, which I think is a little bit of a dark horse pick, but I like either Hill or Fleener here.
With the 26th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Whitney Merciless, linebacker, Illinois.
Wow.
Well, they go defense.
Now, this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. Whitney Merciless is a pure pass rushing defensive end or outside linebacker. 1-year wonder, 16 sacks, 9 forced fumbles, but he's a natural edge rusher. Just on offense to be a little more explosive when Matt Schaub gets back.
Yeah, and then last year, they added J.J. Watt, and that really turned out pretty darn good.
Connor Barwin.
Put this guy in the mix, too. And now the quarterbacks are going to have to fear this defense because Merciless, now he can get after the quarterback. He runs a 4.68 now. That's speed off the edge. He's going to gain some meat on his bones and get some strength to hold down the edge at the point of attack. But look at this athlete run.
Remember, they lost Mario Williams in free agency, but he was replaced very well last year by those two bookends. Brooks Reed on one side, Connor Barwin on the other. Now they've got a 3-man rotation. So I think Rick Smith, the general manager in Houston, has quietly become one of the better general managers in the league.
Chose Drake Kirkpatrick first, then traded down from 21 to 27. Here's the commissioner announced a pick that was originally belonging to the New Orleans Saints. They traded away to New England to trade Ingram.
With the 27th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Kevin Zeitler, guard, Wisconsin.
Boy, is that a solid pick, and I don't care if it's not popular. This kid is a plug-and-play guard. Wisconsin offensive linemen are always extremely well coached. Cincinnati Bengals signed 2 journeyman guards, Jacob Bell and Travell Wharton, in free agency. They need some help up front. This kid is technically proficient, strong, nasty. There's a little X stunt. Watch him be patient and wait for the outside guy to loop in. He picks it up with no problem at all at the Senior Bowl. Well coached, big. He can play in the zone game. He can play in the man game. So Cincinnati, what they did, nice job on the second level, was they got the 3rd corner in the draft to fortify the defense. They had a big hole in the offense, and there's Zeidler right there at the point of attack on the goal line. So they've helped their offense. Look at him again. Bang. Second level. He's a really solid player. And they're picking up extra picks now because of the trade down with New England. So they help their defense with the corner. They get an immediate starter in the offensive line and additional picks. So if you're a Bengals fan, you ought to be happy with that. And the Browns typically don't move up and down the board. How about Mike Brown?
Both the Browns and the Bengals have been trading their way up and down the draft board. The Browns over the last 2 years, and I don't have enough time to explain to you right now, but what the Julio Jones trade turned into. Oh, well, I'll go for it right now. The Julio Jones trade turned into Greg Little, Owen Marichik, a 4th-round pick that they then used to trade up to get Trent Richardson. And then the first-round choice that they got back, Brandon Weeden. That's what the Julio Jones trade turned into the Cleveland Browns. Ted Thompson on the phone. The Packers, the Green Bay Packers, have made their selection. The Baltimore Ravens were sitting on the clock for about a minute and a half, and that is when the announcement came that the Minnesota Vikings have traded up for that selection. So Roger Goodell with the first of 12 Green Bay Packer 2012 draft picks.
With the 28th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Nick Perry, linebacker, USC.
And remember, they're looking for an edge presence across from Clay Matthews. This kid's tape ran hot and cold. When he was good, he was really good. This is a 270-pounder that can stick his hand in the dirt and rush. He's also athletic enough to drop. Now, my problem was the tape also ran cold, and he would disappear for long lapses of time.
There's a lot of fighting on going on in the NFC North as the commissioner gives the 20th of the 27 players in that green room, 26 players, to come out of the green room a hug on the clock.
I think about Rich, what Mike just talked about, how this guy runs hot and he runs cold. But when you go to a place like Green Bay, they only practice one way. They only play one way. They'll teach him to be more hot than cold at this level.
And think about their defensive coordinator, Dom Capers, and think about the guy he's got to stay up with on the other side, Clay Matthews.
Right there.
If you don't play at that level every snap, the locker room's going to turn on you.
Because not only is it a Patriot, not only is it a Packer way, it is a Trojan way. You're not going to bring any bad habits because, listen, he's talking about what USC is doing. You're going to come represent just like he represented with USC and how USC put these players into the NFL.
Well, Minnesota traded its second-round selection, 35th overall, to hop up 6 spots to the Ravens, and then traded a 4th-round pick, 98th overall, to do it as well. But they got a 4th-round pick earlier today from Cleveland, 4th-round choices, and they flipped one of them.
The Minnesota Vikings select Harrison Smith, defensive back, Notre Dame.
That's a pick I really like. They haven't had a safety in Minnesota. He will step in right now. I think he's the best pure zone free safety in the draft. He's got a better skill set than people think. He's more athletic than people think. Check his range out. Reads the quarterback, sees the play. Now watch him drive on the football. He ran 4.5. He jumped 36 inches. He's 215 pounds. Again, deep zone. Look at the hips turn. Breaks the football up on the line of scrimmage. Harrison Smith will tackle in space. The cutback block in space against USC. Break down, drop your hips, flip them over. Trust me, this kid can play in the box. He can play deep zones. He comes downhill through trash, makes another tackle against Michigan State. And for me, this was critical for Minnesota to come out of this draft with a safety that is athletic and can direct traffic.
The Denver Broncos are not making their 1st-round choice because they have traded away to Tampa Bay, which is now on the clock, 31st overall. So the Niners are going, and the Bucs have traded up, and that means then the Giants are going to be on the clock. So we've got
San Francisco, right? I mean, is it Cordy Glenn, Amini Silatolo, or a wide receiver?
With the 30th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select A.J. Jenkins, wide receiver, Illinois.
A.J. Jenkins, 6 feet, 190, came on late, had a big senior season. I had him rated as my 8th wide receiver and a 2nd-round pick. Now, he's a vertical threat, and he gets in and out of his breaks very smoothly. He ran 4.39 in his pro day. This is a good football player. Remember, they've got Michael Crabtree, Kyle Williams, Ted Ginn is more of a return guy. They signed Mario Manningham, and of course, I know you all want me to get to the low-hanging fruit, which is they signed Randy Moss.
Why is that low-hanging fruit?
No, I believe in it. I mean,
why is that low-hanging fruit?
I was going to get there.
All right.
You didn't trust me. It's low-hanging fruit because he's the biggest name there, and that's what we talk about.
But a speedster.
What?
Randy Moss.
And I'm anxious.
This guy's a speedster.
He is.
He can learn from Randy.
I am totally enamored. I want to see Randy. I think Randy might be productive this year.
They moved down from 25
down to 31 and then out. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers gave them the 4th round pick that they got from Jacksonville earlier to let Jacksonville move up 2 spots in the 1st round. And in exchange, just move down 25 spots in the 4th round just to move up. That's how you game that's how you game a draft board. That's how things work. Move pieces around.
So who's on the board now? Is it Tampa?
It is Tampa. They just chose, and you heard the scream from the fans because the Giants are on the clock to wrap this thing up. We're going to get under
Tampa.
3 hours, by the way.
Martin?
Tampa got. There's a good one. Tampa got Mark Barron early for defense. I like either Doug Martin or Kobe Fleener right now. Either one of them would be a great pick offensively.
For a team that broke the bank with an all-fives contract with Vincent Jackson earlier on in free agency this year.
And Carl Nix up front
for Josh Freeman.
With the 31st pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Doug Martin, running back, Boise State.
Makes a ton of sense, Marshall. We just talked about it. 229-pound tailback. He's a 3-down back. This is a kid that's one of the top pass-protecting running backs, 3-down capability. When I put the tape on for 229, surprising burst. And Marshall, you and I always talk about what makes a running back special and how young backs don't have patience. This kid has surprising patience behind that offensive line. Really like him.
When I look at this kid and I watch his tape, not just because he wore the number 22, but he just looks like Matt Forte. Look at the patience, look at the eyes, look at the vision, watch the cut, watch the footwork. They look the same. They have the same type of stride. I'm telling you, they look like the same type of back. What I like about Doug Martin is that he helps you in the special teams game as well. He can help you everywhere on the football field. This is a great pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Josh Freeman should be happy.
It's been an incredible 1st round, full of trades, 8 trades. 16 of the 32 first-round picks tonight have changed hands at least once. The Giants are on the clock to finish this track meet up. There's a chance if Jerry Reese gets this thing in the next minute, it would be under 3 hours immediately following this. They must be calling all hands on deck out in Culver City. They probably didn't expect to get on the air until 11:30 Eastern
That's too
time.
bad. Get your butts in your seats. We're out. Let's go.
Look at you. What's the best value player tonight so far of the first 31 picks presented by Golden Corral, Mike?
I think it's got to be a combination of trades. I think we set a record tonight for the most trades ever in the 1st round. And I look at my board and I'm going, Jacksonville. How about from 7 up to 5 to get Justin Blackman? That was huge. New England, which had 27 and 31, moves up twice. They get 2 impact players, Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower. Minnesota went from 3 to 4 to get Khalil, and then came back up to 27 to get Harrison Smith. And finally, Tampa Bay, they moved down to 7. They get Mark Barron, one of the best football players in the draft, and they move back up and get a 3-down back. I think Tampa's going to be a good football team, and I can't believe Belichick got 2 more impact players.
And the New York Giants pick is in, and you could see the green room right there. That'll wrap things up for the night. There are still 6 players left in the green room. That's why
I look at David Wilson from Virginia Tech. I look at the fact that Cordy Glenn is still on the board. I look at Stephen Hill or Ruben Randall, wide receivers. I think they all make sense. Kobe Fleener is an outside guy, no doubt about it.
And here comes the commissioner of the NFL with the final pick of what is definitely the quickest 1st round in the history of the NFL draft.
With the 32nd pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the world champion New York Giants select David Wilson, running back, Virginia Tech.
Marshall, 3 running backs in the 1st round.
We are relevant.
Who says they're relevant?
Good call. Back to back. And that's really a good pick. David Wilson, to me, runs a sub 4.5 at 206 pounds. You know, people tell me about how quick he is and fast he is, but what I love about him is, yeah, he can make you miss, but he's so expensive.